when I walk through a jam. No one knows who I am. Put your head on my chest, and I'm Mr. Success.
Mr. Success, Ms. Success. How are you guys doing out there today? Good morning. You're listening to William Sumner on the Inevitable Radio Show. I hope you're having a fantabulous, awesome day out there. This show is designed to talk about you, what's going on with you, your life, your problems, your fears, your hopes, your successes, your challenges. This is about you. My coaching system, my trademark is the inevitable you, because much of what takes place in life is inevitable. You're doomed to have pain for some of you. You can't help but avoid success for others, and that's kind of on either end of the bell curve. And then 80% in the middle are working very hard, just trying to figure things out, create success, get ahead, stay ahead, not get crushed, not have pain, keep your homes, keep your jobs, do great things on the planet, and raise your kids in a way that is exciting for them and exciting for you. We have an incredible guest in studio today. I'd like to introduce you to Bob. Bob is a former client and friend, and we still talk a lot. Is a great soul traveling this planet. This is actually a show I've prepared, one, because it's a Bob request, and two, I think it is a really good show to have. We haven't talked about these things in a while. When you think about neural programming, which is one of the principal skills that I teach, you know, and it's even funny, the channel management here kind of go crazy. They say that when I say the word neural, that I lose a part of my radio audience out there. I don't believe that, by the way. I think you guys are far smarter, far more capable. And as I've always said, neural programming, while it's, big words, it's a very simple science. And so what we're going to talk about today is, what is a neural program? Why are they? How are they? How do they come about? What does it mean? And the 7 things that you must know, in order to create the life that you want, to improve the life that you have, to do something different. Either get out of pain or get above average or create superstar extraordinary success for yourself. Those all happen in the realm of how your mind works, how you process and create reality. And if you're a regular listener, you've heard me talk a lot about this. Neural programming, how we create reality. It is not happening to you. The planet is not happening to you. And as a consequence, you have your life. You are interacting, co-conspiring with the planet to create your life, and you have far more control. And at the upper end of the bell curve, you have complete control over what happens to you and how it happens to you. So let's start off with neural programming. Now, in order to understand this, there's a very simple 3-step process that the brain goes through on a constant, habitual basis. Your mind is always doing these 3 steps. It's doing it as you listen to this radio show. It's doing it as you drive to work. It's doing it as you have a conversation with your spouse or teenager. Your mind does this all the time, these 3 steps. Step 1, what does this mean? What does this moment mean to me? Is this a safe moment? Is this a good moment? Is this bad? Is this dangerous? Is this risky? Is this ambivalent? Am I just sitting here watching TV doing mind candy? Am I sitting here watching TV worrying about my job, trying to think about how I'm going to win a proposal tomorrow? What does this moment mean? And that moment, that meaning that's being created in that moment, that is a program. Now, you've heard me call it programs. You've heard me call it strategies. You've heard me call it neural strategies. You've heard me use metaphors like it's a recipe for life. You've heard me talk, we had a whole show focused on the orchestra, and you are a maestro, and you design and play the score of your life. There's a lot of metaphors There's a lot of truths, but at the end of the day, step one is you're busy trying to figure out, what does this mean? An email comes in. What's the subject line? Do I care? Oh, it's my boss. Oh, it's danger. There's rumors of layoffs this week, and I get an email in that says layoffs in the subject line. Your mind creates a meaning in the moment. You come home, you're in a good mood. Your spouse has that look on his face or her face. That's a meaning. There's a moment. You have your teenager waiting on the front door. Mom, Dad, I got to tell you about something that happened today. And the look on their face creates a meaning. And it might be the look that she's been trying to win something, and there's a big smile. It might be the look of gloom and doom. You know, they've screwed something up. You're busy always creating a meaning. So we're going to talk a lot about that, but it's important to know the other two steps because those are the ones that actually create the reality piece of it. Step two is, once you know what this moment means, your brain will attach an emotion to it. You will attach and create an emotion. And you can associate to that emotion and intensify it, or you can dissociate from that emotion and diminish and weaken the emotion. But there is an emotional cycle that takes place. And again, if you're a regular listener of this show, that's when we do the 8-foot step ladder and 800-foot cliff. Those are emotions that are attached to meanings, and we can take those emotions and meanings and say we're closer to death, we're never more alive. All these things that we talk about on a day in, day out basis on this show. And then the last thing, once you have a meaning, once you've attached an emotion to it and you know how you feel about it, then you'll take an action. You'll do something. You'll do nothing. Doing nothing oftentimes is the most common choice of action for most people. They'll see the way to succeed, but the meaning might be too much risk, so they'll do nothing. They will see a path to greatness, but there might be too much fear attached to it, so they'll do nothing. They may see something happening, and the meaning they attach to it is, I want to avoid this at all cost. And so they'll take an action to avoid something. Very, very common neural program. Pain avoidance.
Thank you for listening to the Inevitable Podcast. Please visit our website for more information on this extraordinary coaching system at www.theinevitableyou.com. Then, sign up for your 2-week free trial of our membership to gain access to hundreds of hours of amazing content and tools just like this.
Bob, what do you think about all this? Too much fancy fluent words? Make sense? What do you think?
No, I was sort of reflecting this morning on the drive over here to the studio and knowing that it's a beautiful August 1st day. In the newspapers this morning, delivered to our front doorstep were all the back-to-school sales. So I thought you might be able to focus a little bit on some advice to some parents as the teenagers start to go back to school, or the middle schools, or even the grade schools. You and I have spent a lot of time talking about the formulation of programs and how that affect as we move our life downstreams. And you and I both agree that that starts at an early age. So I thought maybe some listeners might like to have some questions to you about how to deal with this upcoming school and setting the stage for success for their kids.
Great. Back to school, let me put that in about the middle of the 7-step cycle because I want to talk to you, and I'm going to outline it 3 times during the show today. I'm going to outline the 7 steps to how neural programs, what are they, how they're taking place. So not if you're driving, you don't get to do this. If you're driving, podcast this later and listen to it and write it down. But the 7 things that take place in order to create your program, I'm going to go through them very quickly and then we'll go back one by one. Some people call it karma or fate. Certainly we come here with some destiny. That's a part of it. Your genetics is a consequence. You might be genetically predisposed. You might genetically be outgoing or introverted. We know children at birth. Some of them are more expressive. Some of them are more inward. Some of them are thinkers. Some of them are emoters. Some of them feel. Some of them are do. There's some genetics that take place in these programs. Probably the biggest thing that begins to happen is your family of origin, number 3, begins to talk to you. And they're not only talking to you, you're observing and listening. And the fact of the matter is, in a family of origin situation, in a situation where you have everybody in a family or in a colleague setting, you will absorb other people's programmings by osmosis. We as humans are highly attuned to other humans.
What age does that start, Bill?
That starts in the womb, actually, because as the mind begins to form in the womb, as even with a child that is born, they have, as a young baby, expectations as to what this planet means. So it's very primitive, but if I cry, I'll get held. If I cry, my diaper will get changed. If I fuss this way, I get food. And we know from experiments on children and infants as young as 2 weeks, at 2 weeks, they can remember a 30-step sequence that will create food for them. These experiments are out there. They've been around for a long time. So these belief systems, these interactions with the world, begin to happen as early as in the womb, in formation, when the mother is running a meaning and a moment and a program and attaching an emotion. That emotional attachment takes place through a very simple process. And again, simple science, big words, but it's a simple science. Your hypothalamus floods your body with neural peptides. And these hormonal markers go out to virtually every cell in the body. They're going to the cells that are forming in the fetus, and the baby is absorbing the mother's I'm in love with the world. I hate the world. I laugh at the world. I'm angry at the world. And those neural peptide formations have a lot to do with fetal development even at that age. So the mind, as a sentient being, we have incredible powers to interpret and create reality for ourselves, even in the womb, even as a infant that's weeks and months old.
Great, Bill. And so let's say I have a teenage kid and we're moving down and we're now past the womb stage. What kind of things can I do as a parent or the parents out there do to help, I want to say, right the boat, to change that channel, that direction that our young offspring are headed toward?
Well, the first thing to understand, Bob, in changing a child, there's really two things. Now, a lot of people have heard the expression, do as I say, not as I do. Well, that doesn't work. And we know that doesn't work. The first thing that is a must in helping a child to change is you have to understand as an adult or as a parent what the impact of your truth, your programs, your reality, what you believe about the planet. So if you're sitting there telling your child, hey, you can be a superstar, or hey, you can solve this problem in school, or hey, you can go be someone different, create something different. And the fact of the matter is you don't believe it about yourself, that you can't go into work and change, that you can't go into the work and deal with someone, that you can't be a mom and have a problem with other moms in children's play group, for instance. Wherever you find yourself, if the truth is you don't believe that, you can talk to your blue in the face with a teenager and they're not going to buy it.
Does that also work in the work environment where you have coworkers that are seeing the world as half empty and are general malcontents? And how do you, what kind of energy do you need to put forth every day to sort of help the overall environment that we each survive in?
Well, work is an interesting environment because you can leave your mic on. You don't have to keep turning it on and off. The work environment is a little bit different place in the sense that you go into a staff meeting and you're in sales and marketing's in there, and maybe it's a weekly marketing meeting or it's a, once a day project meeting or something. There's always going to be opportunities and times for everybody's programs to interact. Thank you. And in the interaction of these programs and the interactions of these moments, to the extent that you speak your truth, you show up authentically, you will tend to have more power, more sway, even if you don't get along, even if you don't agree across department lines or across colleagues. To the extent that you being authentic gives other people in the environment to be authentic, now you begin to develop real power in that culture where if people really show up at work, and these are the socially conscious, the integrity and ethical corporations and businesses that create tremendous amount of power for individuals, which means for that company, which ultimately benefits their clients by showing up with a lot of integrity and being authentic. While there's going to be a spectrum of people that believe things, and even in the half-empty, half-full range of the question that you ask, even in that range, there's value in the half empty because, as we've talked before on the show, if you were an astronaut, and there's an actual, again, I love the word, neural program that matches half full, half empty. That's called matching and mismatching. Do you see the world and match to it, or do you see the world and mismatch what's different about it? Mismatchers have value because they figure out things that are going to go wrong and they figure out solutions for them. And then they figure out things that are going to go wrong with the contingency solutions and figure out solutions for that. So there's a value to being half empty and mismatching. Sometimes it's when you take the program too far and you are too lost on one end of the spectrum and you're not balanced in your approach that you're going to create a problem for yourself. By the same token, being half full is also a problem because if you're so half full that all you see is positive, well, that's what we call yes men and suck-ups and people that just go around optimistically saying everything's perfect. And the fact of the matter is there are imperfect moments on this planet. What we want, the inevitable you, what we ask and want to talk to people on this show about is, are you matching and mismatching with consciousness? Are you approaching colleagues at work with, hey, I see something wrong, or I recognize the value in this, but I want to talk about this? This spectrum of information, and it doesn't matter what program that we're in, all, again, we're in step 3, springs back to the family of origin. Was your family of origin balanced or not balanced? Was it half full, half empty? What did you pick up? So of the 7 things that you pick up, family of origin, it is the fundamental place that all of your programming springs from. It is the foundation that we all go back to. It'll be your gifts. It'll be your challenges. It's always both. Every family's done things well. Every family's done things poorly.
Thank you for listening to the Inevitable Podcast. Please visit our website for more information on this extraordinary coaching system at www.theinevitableyou.com. Then, sign up for your 2-week free trial of our membership to gain access to hundreds of hours of amazing content and tools just like this.